I hate Reliquary on lethal with a burning passion. For the love of the Emperor, stop splitting up. Okay. You know what? Honestly, he has a point about this. So, obviously, Reliquary on lethal is probably the hardest operation. Part of that is due to the fact that you have these, basically these very tedious tasks of following around, the servo skull and, finding the energy for the console and stuff. It's just like you're basically walking around looking for things for like the first half of that operation, and that leaves a lot of time for extremists to spawn. So, right here we're going to break down some tips and some things you should try to avoid in lethal Reliquary. And first, I will say, make sure you're comfortable with fighting chaos to the point where if you see a Terminator, you're not going to freak out. Pretty much just that. Yeah, get better at fighting Terminators, get better at fighting Sorcerers, but I'll tell you right now, Sorcerers aren't that big of a deal if you know how to land your grenades. Sorcerers pretty much get one shot by crack grenades as long as, you get some chip damage in. So I guess that's not a real one shot, but I'm pretty sure it's like pretty close. It's like a 90% shot, something like that. So yeah. Keep a lookout for crack grenades for Sorcerers. I mean, I'm sure it's good against Terminators, but I wouldn't recommend throwing a crack grenade at a Terminator because it will run after you. Another thing is make sure you do your best to use cover because Chaos, a lot of range damage. So, just try to play a little bit of Gears of War with them for a bit. And, only go for Chaos Majors that you can take out. Like, you really need to understand how your kit works for taking out Majors. Like, the exact break points. Like of how many shots you need to land, or if you need a headshot, that sort of thing. So yeah, we're gonna get into this post. We're going to get into, again, some tips and tricks for lethal Reliquary, and we're also going to see if anyone else has any good advice, because there might just be a lot of complaining. So, yes, Reliquary lethal took me quite a bit. I have the run somewhere. I use Bulwark, which I think either Bulwark. Vanguard, also I think Bonds of Brotherhood would be really good, so heavy. So pretty much a heavy Vanguard Bulwark team is what I would recommend, but I can understand putting tactical there. There's just a lot of health support there. There's a lot of healing with Vanguard, Bulwark, and heavy, especially with Bonds of Brotherhood, so I recommend that just so, you can last through the mobs, basically. After getting the Platinum Trophy, alongside maxing out all classes and getting my weapons to Relic level, I wanted to find a new reason to keep playing the game, so I thought, screw it, why not? Let's do Lethal. I did Voxlib, very good operation. That's operation number 3. Inferno and recently Decapitation on Lethal. Yeah, those are some good operations. Dude, for whatever reason, Vox Libertas took me like 5 tries compared to Reliquary, which was like 20, and then every other operation was 1 or 2 tries. I had some pretty good squad mates with me. Oh, that's good. But I heard about how Reliquary on Lethal is the hardest and most grueling mission to play on Lethal. And after about 10 attempts, I completely understand why. Yeah, it's crazy. It's so crazy. And it's really hard to find a team that can kind of synergize well enough. Because doing synergy with randoms is pretty tough. Because you never know how they're going to play their kit. However, in those 10 attempts, there was a very consistent and quite frankly annoying pattern I kept seeing when I played with randoms. They decided to just run off by themselves. Fine, okay, maybe they want to search for grenades or a stim, but then they just do it for no real reason other than to try and solo 5 rubrics and 2 sorcerers. Yeah, that's rough. That is rough. I've rarely seen 2 sorcerer spawns. Normally it's 1 sorcerer and 1 terminator or 2 terminators. That said, yeah. That's rough. There's only one spot in this level that you should run off by yourself, and that's on the bridge. Because the way the bridge works is, first you go into the bridge. There should be an enemy wave. So you do your best to take out the enemy wave while also progressing through the bridge, right? But there's going to be a point where there's basically no enemies. And that's when you should take that, pretty much you take that space and use it in a way to get a head start on the bridge. So if you see no enemies, jet as fast as you can. And if the enemies don't catch up with how fast you are moving, you should keep moving, basically. Basically, you fight the first wave and then try to fight every other wave just by purely outpacing them. Now, sometimes they spawn in front of you, but with that said, sometimes it takes them quite a bit to understand how to attack you. Also, I would say this is a risky you know, this is a risky plan to do with randoms because I've done Reliquary recently where I found a break in the bridge and I was able to just speed past everything. And then I spawned my 2 teammates, and one of my teammates were kind of upset about that for whatever reason. So fighting through the bridge is a pain. There's not enough ammo on that bridge. You really do have to find basically your pacing of taking out an enemy and then also progressing through the bridge. And that's really hard with randoms, especially if they don't pay attention to your pings, because you can ping and say, hey, I'm going to start jetting through this bridge, make sure you follow me. And then they're just going to sit there shooting at a disc shaman for like 3 minutes. And then, you know, extremist spawns. And now you're shooting at a disc shaman and a terminator. And you're getting Helldrake fire. And there's a sorcerer on a bridge. So it's just like, waiting around on the bridge is one of the worst things you can do. You definitely need some pacing. You definitely need at one point to just take control of the pacing and speed past some of that stuff, because frankly, people just aren't ready for it most of the time. They either don't have the grenades, they don't have the ammo, or they don't have the map knowledge to pretty much just fight and run at the same time, basically. Yeah, that's the most important thing right there. Now, usually splitting up happens when you have no other choice but to do so, and that's fair, but from what I've been having to deal with, it's just a case of these special snowflakes wanting to rush ahead without waiting for us. Okay, that's like, I gotta be honest, any other insult would have worked there. I feel like that one kind of just fell flat on his face because exactly what I just pointed out. If you don't understand the pacing of the level, you are going to be put into a corner. It's just a case wanting to rush ahead. The only time where you should rush ahead is on the bridge. The bridge does not have enough resources to just sit there and fight off. Now, I know there's like 1 ammo box. So that ammo box is probably a good checkpoint to kind of just sit there and take out what you can and then just refill on ammo there and then start jetting. Because you seriously can't. On Lethal Reliquary, both times I've completed it, there has been somebody who just rushed through the bridge. About like halfway they were done the bridge, then they just jet and just try to get it done. I think that's kind of the strategy you should go with. Because at the end of the bridge, you can respawn your teammates. So there's really nothing to lose. If you guys are in a tough spot on the bridge where you're already getting beaten down and you can't see this fight going anywhere, like maybe you have no stims, you have a mortal wound, and no armor, but you see a break and you see that you can make it to the end of the bridge, you should go for that. If you sit there and fight, dude, you're just going to, how many times I was running Lethal Reliquary and we were taking out chaos mobs, but as soon as we got on the bridge, nobody knew how to play with each other, and then it just breaks down. It's such a pain. The bridge you really have to try to get done fast, not get done clean, basically. That, more than anything, gets on my nerves. Yeah, and as soon as somebody starts running on the bridge, if it tilts you, that's your fault. I'll tell you that. I understand splitting up during the 2 objectives in the beginning of the operation. That can be annoying. You should definitely be with your team there. But on the bridge, if there's one guy who's just sitting there struggling on a disc shaman, and even if you try to fight that disc shaman, it spawns in an extremist, and now you're just in a worse spot. So sometimes it's like, 1 disc shaman? Okay, we can outpace that, So, yeah. Don't worry about worry about waves in the bridge. Don't worry about, 1 or 2 enemies. Crazily enough, I was actually about to beat the mission too. Me as a tactical and this bulwark and assault were literally halfway to killing the Helldrake. Obviously, they were both max level, with the team perks you expect them to have. So, gun striking for assault. But then they mess up the symbols. Not once, not twice, not even 3 times, but 4 times. Okay, yeah, messing up the symbols. Yeah, that'll kill a run. That'll kill a run. I definitely recommend at least running, some substantial Reliquary just for practice before you go into Lethal. We weren't even getting bombarded by waves of rubrics. Yeah, for whatever reason, that Helldrake fight really starts to calm down the waves. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, it's on Ruthless, it's on pretty much every difficulty. Like, halfway through the Helldrake fight, like, they will only spawn, 1 or 2 majors. It's really weird. All we had to do was watch out for, also I'm not saying that should change. All we had to do was the fire sweep. We were practically handed the victory on a silver platter. But no, they messed up the symbols we needed to put in, and it cost us a run. And it's not that hard to look at the symbols we need to input, and again, we weren't getting dogged down by rubrics or trash mobs, nothing. So, I'm honestly gonna point out something here that I'm a little confused with the symbols. It's basically top to bottom, left to right, right? But I've seen times where people have made the second symbol on the left pillar, or the left, I'm not sure what to call it, the left window, so, and it still worked. But it was, I don't know. The symbols kind of confuse me, but basically the rules I go with is top to bottom, left to right, basically. But because they both messed it up, the waves of enemies came in, we died. I really want to beat Reliquary, but I now see that relying on randoms is simply not enough. Oh, this guy hasn't even beat Reliquary yet. Just try not to stray too far from your teammates. It's really not that hard, and if you do get separated without meaning to, just focus on staying alive and go back to your brothers. That's all I ask. I get it, but I'm not surprised you haven't beat Reliquary if you get tilted at people trying to rush through the bridge. It's one thing, again, it's one thing to separate from your teammates looking for like the fusion core or whatever and then following the servo skull. You should be together with that. But that bridge, if you're playing too slow and if you're sitting there just trying to take out 1 or 2 minorists or 1 or 2 disc shamans, or maybe there's a Terminator, but he's so far away, like just rush by him. Like seriously, the bridge is really at the point where you cannot fight for so long. If you're not by the ammo box, you cannot sit there and fight for so long. You got to take out like the problematic enemies, the enemies that are actually attacking you, or like the enemies you need to counter, the blue circles and stuff. You need to take those out. But basically, when I beat Reliquary Lethal, I sat there and fought a sorcerer as our heavy rushed through the bridge and made it to the end and basically just respawned us. I died to the sorcerer because obviously Reliquary Lethal Chaos bridge. It's such a pain. It's really a pain. I think I had 1 crack grenade though that I misplayed. So I think I was able to honestly be just a little bit better at that moment. But regardless, we got the Lethal Reliquary down and I was playing Bulwark, so I was healing. Yeah, that's about all I can really say about Reliquary. If you're playing heavy, the heavy bolter is really good. Tactical is also really good. Sniper can take out majors and stuff. They just have a hard time surviving. So sniper, I would recommend Bulwark just staying on the sniper and healing him, and then the heavy can heal its contested health. I can see a sniper Vanguard Bulwark team doing pretty well. Yeah, that's practically all I really have to say about it. I'm gonna go into the comments here to see what people also say about it. But yeah, frankly, it's weird. It's like you have to stay really close to your teammates in the first half, and then as soon as you get the bridge, it's like, oh no, all the rules in the beginning of that operation, nah, no more of that. You guys have to now basically rush through the bridge, because if you sit there and fight for too long, all you're gonna do is lose health and lose ammo because it's lethal. They're just gonna keep spawning extremists. You have to get through that bridge at a meaningful time, and I would pretty much call it rushing through the bridge. But yeah, basically Helldrake comes down, flames, wait for the flames to disperse. Any enemies there? Oh, there's like 1 or 2 majors. Rush. Run past those majors if you can. Obviously, like, you should dodge their attacks and counter their attacks when you can. But if it's 1 or 2 majors, you can definitely just run past them. Now, if it's 3 majors and 5, 6, 7 minorist enemies, maybe throw a grenade or something. Try your best to just like basically break up the wave and then rush past them. Don't really focus on trying to take out every minorist enemy. You don't need to focus on taking out every major until you're at a point where it's like, okay, the flames are coming down. All I can do is take out this major, and I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna take out the major and then, continue going down the bridge. You really shouldn't be in those gazebos like on the side. I guess they're gazebos. I'm not too sure what to call them. But there's like a pretty much an area in the bridge where it has the roof, and you can basically go in there and stay away from the flames. There's a couple of those. Well, if you're in those gazebos for more than like 2 wave fights, you're already doing it wrong. Like you really have to notice the flames, notice the amount of enemies. Are they a threatening amount of enemies? No? Then run past the bridge. I imagine this can make the extermination experience pretty rough on Reliquary, but it's Reliquary Lethal, so it shouldn't matter, basically. Reliquary is the only mission I've had to do more than twice. Every failure was everyone splitting up at the bridge to the Helldrake, and the Hellbrute doing the rest because no one was killing it while waves of rubrics were firing. Can Hellbrutes spawn on the bridge? If so, yeah, that's rough. You gotta take out that Hellbrute. Everyone's splitting up at the bridge. Okay, so I see. Okay, yeah, the original poster also kind of alluded to this. Splitting up on the bridge isn't splitting up. It's one person on the bridge understanding the pacing of that part, and then one person who's too slow. So what's happening is it's not splitting up. It's someone's being left behind. And again, at the bridge, if you're confident that you can make it to the end, you can respawn your teammates, so you don't have to worry about that. But like, let's say you rush through the bridge and you're at like 1 health and like a major just happens to get into that room. You know, like, you got to make sure you're confident enough to take out that major. It's lethal, you should, but I can see that major killing that run. Does that mean that you should have done something different? Honestly, no, because if you sat there and fought, you would have died before you got to the end of the bridge. So getting to the end of the bridge is the most important part. Like, it really is. This is like the one point in the game where it's like splitting up isn't really that bad of an issue, because as soon as you get to the end of the bridge, you can just respawn your teammates. Yeah, so I don't know. It sounds rough. It sounds like a gamble. But essentially, you should be keeping up with the player in your team who's getting past everything on the bridge, and he's just running past stuff. Yeah, try to keep up with him, you know? But yeah, again, Reliquary lethal is a pain. So I'm not surprised, you know, people are kind of unorganized on the bridge. It's very easy to just panic. I thought I've seen everyone. I consistently see people refusing to or ignoring the buttons but pushing the wrong ones is a new low. Oh, that's right. You just really have to not push the right symbols. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, that person said, what, 4 times? I'm surprised people are messing up on the buttons. I've never had a team that messed up on buttons. Not a dig. Consider it constructive criticism and helping you not pull out your hair. Don't play with randoms. Without comms for an easier run, just go OP. Oh yeah, just play OP weapons and properly made up teams. Tack Heavy Bulwark is the God Squad. Tack Heavy Bulwark. Yeah, because yeah, Tack can scan the Hell Drake at the end of the operation. So yeah, I can see Tactical being really good. The only reason I say Vanguard, because Vanguard is really good for the mobbing part of that. Also, Vanguard's probably good for the bridge. But yeah, Tactical is good for the boss and also good for mobbing. Yeah, Tactical Heavy Bulwark is probably the God Squad. I can agree with that. I just think Vanguard's really good also. Scans and damage is covered, and healing is also. You can also run the Heavy with Bonds of Brotherhood. Yes, if you keep failing. Yes, Heavy and Bulwark. Dude, that's rough. I don't want to say two classes are absolutely necessary for Reliquary Lethal, but Reliquary Lethal is on another level of lethal operations. Anyone who gets res is picked up with full health, plus banner heals is amazing. The boss gets deleted at the end with Tac Scan, Noob Tube, and Heavy Incinerator with Rate of Fire. What's Noob Tube? Is that grenade launcher? I'm not sure. But regardless, I will point out with the Bulwark. Plasma Pistol and Neo Volkite Pistol are really strong at this point. And honestly, I really enjoyed the Bolt Pistol. The Bolt Pistol is a weapon that I really like in PvP, and I kind of want to make work in PvE, but I haven't gotten around to leveling it up yet. Heavy Incinerator. Oh, Heavy Plasma. Yeah. I will say, for Heavy, the Heavy can get through most of the operation using the Melta, but because of the boss fight and the way it's designed, you should really use the Heavy Bolter or the Heavy Plasma Incinerator. I would recommend the Heavy Bolter the entire time. But yeah, there's that. Reliquary on Lethal is probably the most challenging thing I've done in this game. I got a decent team of randoms and we somehow managed to get it on the second attempt. Don't know how many times they had attempted it. We got killed on the bridge the first time and I thought that was it. But when we returned to the barge, my battle brothers immediately went into the starting zone again, so I followed them. I actually felt exhausted by the time we won, but dang was it satisfying. I think this is actually a good strat. If you're within a team that you know you guys are kind of on the same page with, just try to run it back. Just try to run it back if you lose. There's too many times where I'm even guilty of this. There's too many times where I lose with a team and I'll just leave and then just try to find a new team. When in reality, it's like we made one mistake. Realistically, if your team is also aware of that, you guys probably have it on this next try. You don't need to find a new team and then also find out that that team is worse than your old team. Sometimes just run it back. Just run it back. As long as you guys have a good team, and as long as you didn't have an assault who died at the first part of the game, you know. That's what happened to me with Lethal Reliquaries. There's too many assault players who basically put themselves in a bad position right from the gate, and it's like, great, so now we're in a tough situation here. You can battle with 2 players in Reliquary for quite a bit, but Like, you really have to get good at fighting Terminators and Sorcerers and dealing with the minorous enemies where they're not doing chip damage to you, so parrying is probably a must. Yeah, Reliquary can be a pain. But yeah, sometimes just run it back with the team you had. Just try it. I would go with Bulwark if you have it leveled to 25. It is the toughest lethal mission, though, and you need a bit of luck with Extremis and Terminus spawns. Ideally, you want a Grenade, Launcher, Tactical, and either a Sniper or a Heavy. Other classes will work, too. But Tactical and Sniper or Heavy will trivialize the boss. Yeah, he's totally right about that. Other than that, don't try and kill everything in the gauntlet. Just survive and get to the end. Yes. I just wanted to find a comment that kind of reiterated what I was pointing out with the bridge, because this is what he means with the gauntlet, because that's basically what he says right here. He says, I won't put it up in the screen, but he says, yes, the section across the bridge. I've seen too many teams get wiped in that situation because they just try and kill everything. As soon as the Helldrake does a fire breath, run to the next cover. Yes, I think that's the perfect pacing. Definitely, if you see only a few enemies that won't get in your way, there's no harm in letting the fire drop and getting to the next cover. That next cover might have resources for you. It might, but on the bridge, it's very rare. But yeah, I'm glad I found someone else that agreed with me. But yes, I also beat it with Bulwark. And yes, we did beat it by rushing the bridge. You know, get through the bridge. Don't try to kill everything on the bridge. That's like the #1 trap in lethal operation. That's why that original poster who mentioned people splitting up, you should consider letting people split up on the bridge, because that just means there's one person on your team who's about to make it, who's about to get to the end. It's more of a race if you think about it. Whereas the servo skull and, you know, looking for the you know, the mission objectives in the first half of the operation, that's more of a survivability thing, and that makes a lot of sense why you wouldn't want to split up there. That makes a lot of sense. But on the bridge, try to just make it to the end. Like, team synergy really doesn't do a lot on the bridge, because it's just not a good mix. There's not enough resources on the bridge. So standing there just to try to fight everything isn't going to work out in your favor, especially if you have a teammate who has mortal wound or something like that. Just try to consider the factors. But yeah, it's definitely, the bridge is the worst part, 100%. The Helldrake fight really isn't that big of a deal. You really just need a Heavy, and then you should be able to get it done.